Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Design Space's offset tool to see what it can do, what it can't do, and in case yours isn't quite working, I'll go through some basic troubleshooting tips to hopefully get it up and sorted for you. First things first, here are a few things to check before using the offset. Cricut released the offset function back in March of this year, so you need to make sure you're using at least version 6.6 as that's the version that the offset was first introduced in. We're already on to I think 6.9 now in May 2021, so you should already have it, but if for some reason your Design Space isn't auto-updating and you're on an older version, then you will need to update to the latest version of Cricut Design Space. The easiest way to do that is to uninstall the program from your computer and then reinstall it, and by reinstalling and re-downloading it from Cricut's website, you'll get the latest version. Another thing to bear in mind is that the offset feature only works on the desktop version of Design Space, so if you're using the mobile or tablet app, unfortunately you can't use offset at this time. And finally, there are a few things to be aware of in terms of your computer specification. Offset requires Windows 10 or higher if you're in a Windows system, and you must be on a 64-bit system, not a 32-bit. If you're on a Mac, you need Mac OS 10.15 or higher. So the reason I'm doing this video on offset in May when it came out in March is because I actually only had a Windows 8 computer and it was really old and not capable of updating to Windows 10, so I couldn't get the offset feature in Design Space. What I had to actually do was buy a new computer, but I had been planning to do that for a while anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world for me. But if you are on a computer that can't run Windows 10 on a 64-bit system for whatever reason, unfortunately you won't be able to use the offset feature. If your computer is up to those specifications and you're on the latest version of Design Space, you still might not see the offset button along the top. So it should be somewhere around here, but you can see mine doesn't appear. And that's because I'm using the classic version of the Cricut Design Space canvas, and the offset button will only show up on the new canvas. To switch it over, go to the three little lines in the top left of the screen and go down to where it says Settings. Under Canvas Style, click New, and that will refresh your screen and switch it to the new version, and then the offset button will appear. So I'm just going to wait for this to reload, and now you see I have the offset button up in my top menu. It's greyed out at the moment, and that's because I haven't got anything selected. To select something, just click on it on your page, and then we can have a little try with the offset button. So click into offset and then you have a little slider which determines how big or small you want the offset to be. And as I'm doing this, you can see that line growing and shrinking around the flower, and that line is where the edge of the offset's going to be. You can drag it into a negative number to make an inset. So now that line is inside the flower, and I'll show you that in a moment, but for now let's just add an offset, quite a thin one. You can choose if you want rounded corners or square corners. Normally, rounded corners work better on images because it seems to follow the line better. If you're adding an offset to something that actually has quite sharp corners on it, like a rectangle or a frame or some types of text, then the square corners can look better, but I pretty much always choose the rounded ones. So I'm going to click Apply and see what it's done. So if I drag this away, you can see I've now got my offset layer, which is here. When you're making your offset layer, there might still be little gaps in it that you don't want to have. So for example, I've got this gap in the middle of the circle. If you don't want those gaps, you can take them out by going to the contour tool on the bottom right of your screen. Simply click on the bits you want to hide and then close out of the window and they'll be gone. So now I've got that little offset, a separate layer for my flower. But what if I want another layer? Well, that's okay because you can offset on an existing offset. So in my layers panel, if I click my black layer, which is the offset, I'm going to make it a bright color just so it's easier to see the difference. Alright, so I've got that selected. I can go into offset again, and it should remember the number that you chose on the last offset, so you can keep it the same for consistency, which I think looks kind of nicer because it's neater every time, or you can change it to something different. But when you're happy, click Apply, and now we have another offset layer. So you can keep going with offsets and offsets until you end up with a layered design which you can cut out from all different colours of card or vinyl and stick together. But what other things can you offset? Well, let's have a look. Here I've got some text, so I just inserted it with the text tool, this one over here on the left, and then I changed the font to something pretty. I'll change the colour, let's go for purple again, and now let's see how the offset works. So I'm going to click offset on here, I've got my number, I might just make it a little bit bigger. And now because I'm doing text, there's this other button here called Weld Offsets. If I just untick that, then you can kind of see what it's doing is it's going to add an offset around each individual letter. So if I just do that to show you, it's not that obvious because it's black, so you can't see the cut lines. But if I drag it apart, you can see we have a separate offset for each individual letter, which isn't what we want. A lot of the time that is not going to be what you want when you're doing offsets on text. So let's undo all of that to get rid of that offset and try again. This time I'll go into offset and make sure that Weld Offsets button is ticked and then click apply. And now my offset is just one solid shape. So I can add that in. You can even add offsets to layered images. So this is a horse, which is a free download from my website, craftwithsarah.com. And if you look in the layers panel, you can see just how many layers this horse is. If you wanted to add an offset to it, all you need to do is click on the very bottom layer in the layers panel, go to offset, and then choose your width and click apply, and it will add that offset underneath as a separate layer. You can even turn this into a print and cut. So for example, if you were making stickers and you wanted to have the horse and then a white border around the edge and then your Cricut to cut around the white, all you need to do is change the offset color to white and then select all of the layers of the horse and the offset layer. So press Ctrl or Shift on your keyboard to choose the offset layer. And then down the bottom of the layers panel, press flatten. And now this is a print and cut with a white outline. You can't really see it at the moment because it's white on white. So what I'm going to do is just change the color of my canvas in Design Space by clicking this blank canvas near the bottom. And then at the top there's something called color. So if I just make this a gray, you can now see this is what's going to cut out of my design. So when I print it, it will print the horse, I'll feed it into the Cricut and it will cut around the edge of the white. It won't cut around the inside of the horse itself. So for making stickers, the offset feature is amazing. We could do a similar thing with the word here. Let's make the offset white and then click on that in the layers panel. Press Ctrl or Shift and choose the text layer, press flatten, and now this is a print and cut. So I'll print it on my regular printer and then feed it into the Cricut and it will cut around the white. So for making stickers, planner stickers or stickers that you sell or just stickers for your kids to play with or for you to decorate things, the offset tool is just so transformational, it's brilliant. But what about adding to draw lines? So I've got this lighthouse here and you can see it's two layers at the moment. It's got the bottom layer, which is the basic cut, and the image actually came with this and it's kind of like an inbuilt offset. A lot of the draw images in Cricut Access do come with this little shadow layer already on them. But if I wanted to maybe add one to the draw line itself, so maybe it didn't come with one, for example. Unfortunately, this doesn't really work. I'll show you. So I've clicked my draw layer and if I go into offset, let's make it a bit bigger and click apply, you can see all it's done is create this weird draw line. And even if I change this to a cut, it's just got these shapes. It's not the full lighthouse effect. So sadly, for things like draw layers and score layers and all of these fancy layers that aren't the basic cut or the print then cut, the offset tool doesn't really work. What I could do though is turn the other layer back on, this bottom one, and I could give that an offset if I wanted to, and that will work just fine. Now the offset tool at the moment is still in beta mode, which means Design Space is still improving it and getting it to work exactly how they want. So sometimes when you're using it, you might find that it's a little bit buggy or things happen that you weren't expecting and that don't look right. So if you do notice anything that's not quite right, then just be patient with it and just know that Cricut are working to make the offset feature better. For this video, I actually did try about 20 different images, giving them offsets to try and find one that wasn't going to work. So sometimes you get random cut lines through it or the offset just doesn't look right. But of course, typical, because I was trying to find one that wouldn't work, every single one I tried actually did work. So unfortunately, I'm not able to show you some fixes for if it doesn't work. But if I come across any images in the future that don't work, I will be sure to record a video then and do an update. Now I said at the beginning I was also going to show you how the inset works, which is when you put a negative number into the offset. So let's take another look at this flower and give it an offset, but this time I'm going to drag it to a negative number and press apply. So this time it's just created this shape in the middle. And that could be really pretty if you were making a layered cardstock design. To have this layer on the front in a different color, it just gives it that extra bit of detail, and I think that would be really, really nice. We're almost done for this video tutorial. I just thought I'd sneak in a little bit on the end about how to make layered text. This used to be pretty impossible to do in Design Space, so you had to use an external website such as Photoshop to be able to do it. But now with the offset feature, it's really easy. And if you're someone who wants to know how to make their own layered designs, the offset tool is going to be your new best friend. So let's clear the screen and give it a go. I'm going to go into text and type out a word. I'll just go for hello again, nice and simple, and then change the font. Because I'm going to be doing this as a layered design, I want a script font where all of the letters are going to touch. So this one is called DTC Cottage Style. It's a Cricut Access font. That looks like it'll work. Now at the moment, I'm using an older version of Design Space. They actually released one today, a new version today as I'm recording this video, which is version 6.9. And on that version, there is the option to kern your letters, which means you won't get these weird gaps between all of the letters when you use a script font. However, unfortunately, my Design Space hasn't updated yet, because whenever Cricut Design Space does an update, it rolls out over the course of about a week, and you don't actually have a say in when you get the update. So I don't have that yet, but I'll get it soon. But it does mean that just for now, I need to reconnect all of these letters. So hopefully when you're watching this, you will have the kerning update. As soon as I get it, I'll do a video on how to use it, but that will mean we won't need to do this anymore. But just because I have to do it now, I'm going to right click and ungroup. I'm then going to click on one of the letters, hold the shift key down on my keyboard and drag it to the left so it's touching the H. And then do the same for all of the letters. The reason we're pressing shift on the keyboard is because it then means you can drag it in a perfect horizontal line. Without the shift, you see it's kind of moving all over the place and it will just end up a bit messier. But with shift key, I can be much more precise. Now I'm happy with how that's looking. Let's drag around everything and then press weld down the bottom of the layers panel, and that will put it all back to one layer. So now this is ready for me to add the offset. So let's click here, go into offset. I'm going to go for 0.25 and rounded corners and press apply. That is looking good. If I drag my words out, I don't have any bits I need to fill in. If I did, I could just click it and then press the contour tool to fill in any little gaps. I'm going to change the offset to a brighter color so we can see it easier. And now, as we're making a layered design, we need to just keep repeating that process until you've got the amount of layers you want. So click the offset layer, go into offset again, and I like to keep the same number. It just makes it look neater. So press apply, and now we have another layer. So let's make that a darker blue, and then I'm going to do one more. So press that welded layer, suppress that new offset layer, go into offset again, press apply, click the layer, and then we can change the color. So just like that, we've got a 4-layer word, and you could cut this out with different colors of cardstock and then stick it together with 3D foam pads, and it's going to look awesome. You could put it in a shadow box, or what I like to do with these is put them on the front of greetings cards. For example, here's one that I made a while back. So hopefully that's let you see just how easy it is to make layered projects now that we have the offset tool in Design Space. So if you're interested in taking your layering skills one step further and learning everything there is to know about creating layered designs from straight within Design Space, then check out the link in the description of this video to find out more about lovely layering. But I'm also just going to spend a couple of minutes now walking you through each of the different projects which you will learn how to make if you take this training. This course contains 11 different lessons, and each one is a different thing, a different layered design to make. Lesson 1 is kind of the thing that I think most people want to learn when they buy the course, and that's how to take an existing image or SVG and turn it into a layered design. So just like on the screen, you'll learn how to turn a standard 1-layer image into one which is full of different layers and colours that you can then cut out from cardstock and layer together to make a gorgeous layered design. You'll master editing tools within Design Space such as Contour, Slice and Weld. And don't worry if you haven't used them before or if you're not quite sure how to use them, because all you need is included in the video lessons inside the course. Lesson 2 of Lovely Layering is how to add the shadow layers like we've just done, but how to stack them so that you get more than one at a time. Lesson 3 uses those same techniques, but it tells you how to load them to existing SVGs or images. So like this one on the screen, it shows you how to do it. And it is a little bit different to how we've just done it with the text, which is why this is a separate lesson inside the course. Lesson 4 is how to design your own shadow box scenes. So this is where you combine pre-made images to design your own themed shadow boxes. For example, this husky design. I'll show you some top tips for ensuring an effective 3D design that shows the layers perfectly, and then you'll also learn how you can cut it out to perfectly sit inside your box frame and how to stick it all together. Lesson 5 builds on that shadow box technique, and this time it's how to make a layered design but inside a shape. So I'll show you how to do it with this unicorn head design. I'll also show you how to turn your design into a light up shadow box where we've got LED strips behind it. So not only is this a designing course, but every single lesson also includes information and a video on how to assemble the finished design once you've designed it. Lesson 6 is how to make layered greetings cards. So together we'll learn how to make this dolphin design. For lesson 7, we're going to be designing a monogram letter with stencil shapes. So you can see here we've got the S letter with flowers and butterflies, and then first we'll design that so you could put any shapes you want inside this letter. It could be anything to match the person who you're making it for and what they like. We'll then turn this into a layered design to go inside a shadow box. So for this course, I show you how to make this floral design, but of course you can add whatever images and shapes you want to personalize your letters however you want to make them. Sometimes you might have an image which you want to make layered, but actually it's all one color and one shape and it's just a silhouette image. Don't worry if that's the case, because you can still turn it into a layered design, and I'll show you how. So for this tutorial, we take the dog silhouette you can see, and then we'll add an outline to it and add a mandala design in the middle, and then in Design Space turn it into a 4-layered design, all in different colours. Lesson 10 is how to design your own layered clocks, and I think these are really fun and they make excellent gifts for birthdays or Christmas for your family member and friends. So I'll show you how to make this sunflower design, but again you can make whatever type of clock you want. I'll also show you how to assemble the finished clock with a working mechanism once you've designed it and cut it out. Finally, we have lesson 11, and this is one of my favourites, and it's also a newer lesson. So this was something that was requested by members of the course, so I added it in at the end of last year. And this is how you can design word scenes, which is when you take a whole word and create an image layered design behind it, so that throughout each letter of the word you see different parts of the design. So in total, these 11 videos will teach you all the skills you need to master creating layered designs with your Cricut machine. So if you're interested in learning how to make your own layered designs, check out the lovely layering course by following the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Design Space tutorials. Thank you for watching. Bye.